It's interesting because Ken Paxton is going to be the next nominee for Senate. He's running against John Cornyn, everybody's favorite, uninteresting old white grandfather. It's really interesting the transition that Cornyn's had too. Like it's kind of sad to see a guy who's been like a veteran senator. This guy was the second on the list to become the majority leader of the Senate under the Republican Party, and all his ads are just talking about how much he loves Trump. I mean, he just loves.
Well, did you know that on the PAC side for his Senate election PAC, the new person who's in charge of it was Trump's campaign manager, Chris Lavasita.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, do you think that he has a chance of beating Ken Paxton, aka the worst person ever?
I think that this seat is Cornyn's as long as he wants it. I think even ideologically, I think it would be really hard to beat him in a primary just because outside of the more fringe parts of the party, he is pretty popular.
But the influencers don't like him, so I think it's over.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think that it's another one of those where I could see it going either way. I really could. I think it's going to depend on what Trump does between now and the primary. And I say that mostly of how many Republicans in Texas are going to be like, all right, this is too far. Because then they'll be satisfied with Cornyn because they'll be like, all right, he seems pro-Trump enough, but I know like push comes to shove, if there's some super crazy stuff going on, like at least he'll be somewhat sensible.
So you heard it here first, folks. Olivia Julianna has endorsed Rhino John Cornyn. I'm sure that he'll be displaying this on his website. Has Trump endorsed in this race?
No, he said he's staying out of it for now. But I mean, I would say that I highly doubt that Chris Lavasita would take that position working for John Cornyn if he hadn't checked in with Trump World. And I know the NRSC is backing Cornyn because they back incumbents. So I really do think this is going to be a really big uphill battle for Paxton.
I think that Ken Paxton's going to win the primary. That's just the vibe check that I got because I think a lot of Republicans think that John Cornyn is a rhino liberal, fortunately or unfortunately. Now, the good news is if Ken Paxton, aka the worst person ever, does win the primary, the chances of Democrats winning the Senate seat increases. For those who don't know, Ken Paxton is the Attorney General of the state of Texas. He has filed some of the most insane lawsuits 24/7 against the Biden administration previously, against pretty much everything good in this world. I don't know if he's sued puppies yet, but I'm sure that lawsuit is coming or it's pending if he hasn't filed it. And he's a person who not only has beef with Democrats, he also has beef with some Republicans. And Olivia, you have a lot of insights into that beef that they had. I think it was a year ago or two.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So to make a very long story short, there's this guy, he was the Speaker of the Texas House. His name was Dade Phelan. And he kind of has the same like genre of Republican as John Cornyn. And so there were a ton of like fringe AstroTurf movements to try to get him out of power, leading into the Paxton impeachment trial that happened in the Texas legislature, including one that was like very AstroTurfed, where they were like recruiting influencers to post negative things about him. And so the vote to impeach Paxton comes up in the Texas House. And because Dade Phelan is the speaker, he doesn't actually have to vote on the measure that will determine whether or not Paxton's going to get impeached. But because like these guys have been going after him and trying to get him out, he votes on it and he's like, actually, yeah, impeach him. And he stood on it. And so all of these like really fringe people like Jonathan Stickland, Texas, Liberty PAC, they're like, okay, we're going to destroy you. Like, we're going to put up a primary opponent for you and we're going to kick your ass. They put up a primary opponent for him. His primary opponent was endorsed by Trump. He had all of this money. Phelan beats him. He wins re-election. However, that same PAC that put up a primary opponent for Phelan also, coincidentally, donated $3 million to the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, right before he was charged with overseeing Ken Paxton's impeachment trial in the Texas Senate.
So basically bribed the guy into stopping Ken Paxton's impeachment.
Yeah, pretty much. I won't allegedly. That's pretty much what happened. Paxton gets acquitted. He's not charged with anything. And the vibe moving forward from there was like, we're going to destroy your career. Phelan's not speaker anymore. He's in the House, but he lost pretty ceremoniously. But now Paxton is kind of on this like war path of anyone who said anything negative about me, anyone who voted to impeach me, I will ruin your career. And he has big money behind him. Like, if I would say anything about this Senate primary, it would be, I think it will be a feat for John Cornyn to raise more money than Ken Paxton does.
That's interesting, because I think that people generally would think that Cornyn would do better because he's the incumbent. He's like more mainstream. But yeah, it's true that Ken Paxton has like really tapped into the MAGA donor base. He's like the MAGA's MAGA candidate. And whatever happens, whoever wins this primary is going to come out bloody and bruised. And now y'all understand the context from two Texas Democrats, which have suffered through covering the news cycles of this state.